Hey, welcome back to M Hood Fishing. Today I want to talk about what I use for catfish bait below the salt line. I'm in New Orleans. We're below the salt line, so things are different, sort of. let me explain it to you. So I'm out here in an urban setting. It's Bayou St. John, and I want to catch some catfish bait. Now, this bait is not for tonight, it's for later on, days from now. So I'm gonna freeze it. So back here in the truck parked on the side of the road, I have my Maluna, which is like a Yeti, and I have in that chest a salt slurry or salt slushy. It's ice water with salt, so that'll keep my bait fresher, because salt makes the temperature of that ice water go down to freeze it. We got a temperature gauge, a thermometer on that chest. We'll check it later, see how cold it gets. Now, below the salt water line, I got to explain this to some of you, because some of you don't understand what I'm talking about. Now, we're in a freshwater setting, but it's also a saltwater setting, so that's where it gets confusing. The salt line is where there is just no true freshwater. It's like it goes above Lake Pontchartrain. It goes the state considers like a highway, the salt line, for like your licenses and all that, but we're basically talking about mullet, gizzard shad, panfish, and a couple other things in a pinch. Now, we're just talking about brackish water here. That's what we mean when we say the salt line. We're not talking like true salt water. We're talking fresh water that has a salinity count, so it's not truly fresh water. I'm just rattling blah 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 on here. I hope I'm making sense. So things are a little different. I mean, it's a little different, so it makes a big difference into what kind of catfish bait I use. Does that make sense? So here in a second, I'm going to get set up and put this camera on the tripod, and I'm going to throw this net and see what I catch. And I will explain each different bait, because there are other baits that you can use in a pinch here below the salt line, and there are baits that you hear about that are kind of rare here below the salt line that don't really work well because they're not really that common here. And let's get to that right now. I went down there because I saw some activity, and right off the bat I've got a spot croaker. Now, this is a bait that you can catch catfish on in a pinch, but it's not the go-to bait. Most people don't like it as a go-to bait, but it will work in a pinch. I'm looking for mullet. That's the go-to bait. If you're anywhere along the Gulf Coast below the salt line, mullet is the go-to bait for cats. Let's see if I can get some. All the states in the Gulf Coast determine their salt line in a different manner, but basically the salt line, below it or above it, it has to do with brackish water. So if you're below the salt line, you're likely to find brackish water. If you're above it, you're likely to find fresh water. So that's what that salt line is all about. There are baits that you hear people talk about. We call it catfish candy, like skipjack. They are down here, but they're not super common. Mullet, what I'm trying to catch right now, is the most predominant bait. It's a good oily bait. Puts a lot of flavor in the water, and that's why lots of people love it for catfish. Let's see what's in the net here. What do we got? What do you know? What do you know? First mullet. All right, let's get that bucket over here, Craig, without the stuff that's in the bucket.
Okay.
Tripod case is in the bucket. We don't want the mullet with the tripod case. Look at that. Woo! In a few days, I'm going to be somewhere else. Well, let's see if that mullet is going to work good. We're going to freeze it with a vacuum sealer. But let me see if I can get some more, and then we will take those mullet to the chest and put them in the That salt slurry. Can't talk today, dang it. Woo! Look at this. Look what I caught in the net. You guys see that? This is what I'm talking about, being below the salt line. There's freshwater fish here. That's a little baby flounder. That's what that is. All right, we're gonna let that go. See it, Craig?
Oh, yeah.
In the net. Woo! So we can shake him out of there. Let me see that mullet. See here, guys like Steve Douglas talk about skipjack and saying, you know, it doesn't work everywhere. It's vice versa for mullet. Mullet works really good down here, but it doesn't work good everywhere. I'm going to actually prove that. I could prove myself wrong. I'm going to take this mullet above the salt line. Not just this one, I'm going to get some more mullet, but I'm going to take it above the salt line and see how that works. But let's get on into the video about bait below the salt line. There's some few others to talk about besides mullet. Man, there's a lot of mullet jumping out there. You see them? Ooh, one just ran right here. I got a pinch bait. Now, Craig was calling these shad, but they're not real shad. But if you call them shad, that's fine by me. These are actually menhaden. Some people call them pogie, bunker. They're more common. They're actually, you're only going to find these below the salt line. You can use these for catfish as live bait or dead, but they go soft really fast no matter what you do. The bigger ones are better to get. These little ones you want to use as live bait. It's hard to keep them live, especially when it's warmer out. If you keep your water cold or it's winter time, they'll stay live longer. But yeah, they're very, very, very fragile things. Let's get them out of the net. Don't want those right now. I don't want menhaden. Got like 2 small mullet. Again, I like them a little bigger, but this size isn't bad. All right, finally got 2 more mullet. That makes 3. We're gonna keep these in this bucket it's got water in it now. They'll be alive when I put them in the chest, because I'm gonna stay here for a little bit. I'm gonna turn the camera off now and focus and try to get some more mullet, and we're gonna move on to another species that I love to fish with for catfish. All right, I'm gonna leave it at 3 mullet and go try to catch some panfish. I actually like fishing with panfish a lot for cats. It can be hard to catch mullet on a day like this. It actually rained buckets earlier. I had to cancel work because of it. Days like this, after a lot of rain, it's just hard to catch mullet close to shore. You might see them, and we see them right now, but they're too far for us to get. They're out in the middle, out in deep water, just jumping around. We got 3 small ones. You know, I just want to talk about mullet a little bit. Honestly, where I'm going above the salt line for a while, I don't know if mullet's going to work real well, so I shouldn't waste too much time this afternoon getting mullet to freeze. So I got 3 to experiment with. Now let's go get stuff that I know works here and there, and it's awesome. Let's do it. All right, I'm on a bridge. Got a little worm drop shot on a size 6 Aberdeen using 3/8 of an ounce. This is City Park. I'm gonna try and catch some bluegill, and I'm gonna try to freeze them later. I'm at a different bridge now, and I've caught another croaker. Not my favorite bait for catfish. You can catch gaff tops and hardheads with that, but not always a great bait for blues and flatheads. I finally caught something that's not a salt or brackish water fish. I got a Rio Grande cichlid. Legally, I can't put this back. I do not like these for catfish bait, but I have an idea to make them better. So we're gonna put it in the bucket and see what happens. Whoa, shit. Well, that was an accident, so not stuck with a cichlid now. So I have to point out that I am not in City Park. I'm back on Bay St. John now, and I've just caught another cichlid from the same spot. Try to get this one in the bucket without accidentally releasing it back into the bayou. Maybe I'll bring the bucket closer to me. Now, like I said earlier before I lost that cichlid, I don't like fishing with these as bait. You can't fish with them legally as live bait, but you can cut them up. It's just not an oily fish, so it doesn't put a lot of flavor in the water. I have friends that have had very bad experiences with them as bait. They've tried them in crab traps, crawfish traps for catfish, and nothing really good came of it. So there you go. Yeah, finally caught something worth keeping, but it's too small to use as bait, so I'm not gonna fuss with that. I'm gonna let that go. Finally, look at this. That's a nice bluegill for bait. My bait mission's not really working out. But at least I got something to work with until I can figure out my bait situation where I'm going. And I got another one. Oh, I'm getting happier. Woo. Yes, that is a good size bait bluegill. This is nice. Could eat that almost. All right, I'm glad I bought these red worms today. Didn't feel like digging worms, so I bought some. Just using little pieces. All right, there's my third bluegill. I'm not running the camera and the headlamp consecutively at this spot because it is buggy and got swarms out. I'm getting kind of, I'm trying to tell you, I don't want termites crawling down my neck. So if I continuously filmed with this bright light, I'd be scratching my neck like my dog. Not that they're scratching. They got their own flea preventative, but that doesn't stop termites from getting on them. There we go, another nice bit of bait. All right, so now you know a little something about bait below the salt line, or you know a little something about what I like to do below the salt line. I'm about to go above the salt line, and we're gonna figure out what to do up there. I already know a lot about what to do. As you can tell, if you can't tell, I'll tell you right now, I'm really tired. I gotta go. It's around 9:30. I gotta get up super early in the morning and get stuff done. I gotta get up around 5, so I gotta go. See you next time.